Are you aware that the Amish can produce more food from a single garden bed than the majority of people manage in 5? This success stems entirely from a collection of uncomplicated spring routines handed down over many generations. No artificial chemicals, no powered machinery, simply results. In this discussion, I plan to share 30 Amish spring gardening activities you need to complete before May arrives if your goal is a garden that genuinely yields a harvest. Garden Journal Setup. Embarking on a garden project without a journal is akin to attempting to bake without following a recipe. You might strike it lucky, but errors are almost guaranteed. The Amish recognized long ago that maintaining thorough garden records holds as much significance as the physical labor involved. The best fertilizer is the gardener's shadow, but the best memory is the gardener's pencil. As their practical knowledge instructs us, a basic notebook is sufficient for keeping track of what succeeds and what fails. Note down the date you sow each seed, when they emerge, and their growth progress. Observe rainfall amounts and temperature variations. Did those tomatoes fare better in the full sun location or the one with partial shade? Your journal will serve as a reminder for the following year. Weather trends reveal patterns when monitored consistently over time. If beans sown during wet weeks performed poorly last year, you'll understand the need to wait for drier conditions this season. Most gardening setbacks occur because we fail to recall what proved ineffective previously. You don't require elaborate templates, merely steady notes regarding dates, weather conditions, and outcomes. The most fruitful gardens are cultivated by individuals who learn from past mistakes rather than repeating them. Moon phase planting calendar. Regarding timing, there is another age-old technique employed by the Amish that could be surprising: the moon phase planting calendar. Would you accept that the moon could enhance your seed's growth? I was skeptical myself until I witnessed the results firsthand. The Amish have adhered to moon phase planting for generations, and scientific inquiry is finally validating what they have inherently known. Here is the intriguing aspect. Research indicates seed germination rates can rise by as much as 30% when seeds are sown during specific lunar phases. This isn't mysticism. It relates to gravity and water. As the moon waxes, appears larger, its gravitational influence draws moisture upward in both the soil and plants. This supplementary moisture aids seeds in sprouting more rapidly and developing greater strength. Various plants react differently to distinct phases. Root vegetables like potatoes and carrots perform optimally when planted during the moon's waning phase, appearing smaller, whereas crops grown above ground such as tomatoes and corn flourish when sown during the waxing phase. Establishing a moon planting calendar is straightforward. Note the moon phases on a standard calendar, then categorize your seeds based on their preferred phase. Certain Amish cultivators assert the flavor is superior as well. You could disregard this ancient practice, but why not experiment with it in half your garden and observe the outcome yourself? Seed inventory assessment. Before putting any seeds in the ground, however, you must ascertain precisely which seeds you possess. Do you have a disorganized collection of seed packets tucked away somewhere? It's time for organization. The Amish method for seed management extends beyond merely identifying your stock. It involves comprehending your seed's history and potential. Certain Amish communities maintain seed varieties passed down for more than 200 years. These heirloom seeds possess history within their genetic makeup, and many are ideally suited to regional growing environments. While your seeds might not be quite that ancient, even packets left over from the previous year warrant careful consideration. Evaluating seed viability requires no sophisticated apparatus. Position 10 seeds between moistened paper towels, maintain warmth, and inspect after several days. If 8 germinate, you have approximately 80% viability. Modify your sowing density based on this finding. Arrange your inventory according to planting date and garden location. Seeds for early spring, like peas and spinach, should be kept distinct from warm season crops such as peppers. This strategy prevents the disappointment of discovering the ideal cucumber seed packet after the optimal planting window has passed. Keep seeds in a cool, moisture-free location, definitely not in the garage where temperatures fluctuate. An airtight container holding a few grains of rice effectively wards off moisture. Tool restoration. With your seeds organized, it's time to ensure the implements you'll employ for planting are prepared for use. Nothing spoils an ideal spring gardening day more swiftly than a blunted hoe or a handle prone to splintering. The Amish hold the conviction that tools ought to endure for generations, not just single seasons. That collection of rusted tools in your shed can be revitalized with some focused effort. Metal components of tools require periodic sharpening. A keen edge renders your work twice as straightforward with half the exertion. Employ a standard file to re-establish the edge on hoes and spades. Maintain a consistent angle, always guiding the file in a single direction. You will perceive the improvement instantly when breaking ground in the spring soil. Wooden handles merit comparable attention. Eliminate any potential splinters by sanding them until smooth. Then treat the wood with natural oils like linseed oil to protect it from moisture. This uncomplicated measure prevents painful splinters and prolongs the handle's lifespan by years. An old farmer often quipped that his tools predated his marriage, and both endured because he recognized that proper upkeep was crucial. Avoid leaving tools outdoors where exposure to rain and sun leads to swift decay. A basic wall rack in your shed keeps everything organized and safeguarded. Every tool ought to have its own specific place. With sharpened tools ready, you are prepared to attempt one of the most efficient planting strategies ever conceived, a method the Amish adopted long ago from Native Americans. Three Sisters planting. The Three Sisters approach is not merely clever gardening. It represents agricultural artistry in action. Corn, beans, and squash coexist like close companions, each contributing to the other's success. The tall corn provides natural supports for the bean vines to ascend. The beans, as legumes, extract nitrogen from the atmosphere, enriching the soil. Simultaneously, the broad squash leaves blanket the ground, inhibiting weed growth and preserving soil moisture. When Amish cultivators embraced this Native American strategy generations back, they modified it to suit their northern environment. The only product we'll ever promote on our channel is a book by Claude Davis, a veteran prepper, about 126 superfoods and preservation methods from crisis times, like the Great Depression, and wartime that are impossible to find elsewhere. We decided to promote his book because we are the last generation able to share these techniques and superfoods to our children or grandchildren. It would be a shame to see this information about highly nutritious foods and preservation methods to survive crisis disappear. You can also find a book about herbal remedies from Nicole on their store. If you're watching this on TV, you can look up our channel Frugal Solutions on your phone or tablet and find the books by clicking the link in our channel description or any other video description. By choosing varieties with shorter maturation periods and giving corn an earlier start before planting beans, the system establishes its own microenvironment, a small plant society that sustains itself. Precise spacing is essential. Corn is planted in small groups with adequate space for beans to grow among them, and squash is positioned around the outer edges. The customary planting mounds, roughly 4 inches in height and 12 inches in diameter, enhance drainage while allowing the soil to warm up sooner in spring. Each section of an Amish garden utilizing this method yields approximately 3 times the amount of food compared to the same area planted with individual crops. Furthermore, the harvest schedule naturally staggers. Corn ripens first, followed by beans, with squash remaining productive into the autumn. Soil reading. Before planting these companions, however, you must ascertain when your soil is genuinely prepared. Get down on your knees and take a handful of garden soil. What information does it convey? Amish cultivators understand that the earth communicates through its feel, dampness, and warmth. They don't rely on sophisticated testing kits, merely hands that comprehend what they are sensing. The well-known squeeze test serves as your most dependable instrument. Grasp a handful of soil and compress it firmly. If it forms a cohesive ball that crumbles cleanly when prodded, it is ready. If it remains a solid mass, it is excessively wet. As the traditional Amish adage states, if it clumps like chocolate cake, give the garden a break. Cultivating soil that is overly moist harms its structure for the remainder of the season. Temperature is equally significant as moisture. Conventional wisdom suggests the soil should feel comfortable against your bare wrist or elbow. For a precise reading, the soil temperature should be at least 50 degrees for cool season crops and 60 degrees for warm season varieties. Color provides valuable insights too. Healthy soil becomes darker when damp but does not retain a glossy appearance. If your soil resembles mud pie instead of moist chocolate cake, postpone planting. The patience required to interpret soil conditions accurately may prove to be the most crucial gardening aptitude you ever acquire. Ash spreading. As soon as your soil is prepared, it is time to provide it with a nutritional enhancement using a time-honored amendment: ash spreading. That fireplace ash. The white powder timing is absolutely critical for ash application. Distribute it 2 to 3 weeks prior to planting to permit integration with the soil. Applying it too soon allows rain to wash away its advantages. Applying it too late might temporarily interfere with soil biology. Amish gardeners employ a straightforward hand scattering technique. No elaborate tools are necessary. Simply traverse your garden rows carrying a bucket, distributing handfuls uniformly over the soil's surface. What quantity should be used, the Amish gauge by hand. A fine layer, barely perceptible, suffices for most gardens. If you can distinctly see white powder covering the soil, you have used too much. A single fireplace typically yields sufficient ash for a 20x20 FT garden area. Exercise caution, however. Ash possesses considerable alkalinity. It performs wonderfully for vegetables like broccoli and cabbage, which favor slightly alkaline soil, but refrain from using it near acid-preferring plants such as blueberries or potatoes. Biochar. For a more enduring soil enhancement, there exists another carbon-derived amendment with historical origins: biochar. Long before contemporary scientists recognized its advantages, Amish gardeners were incorporating biochar into their soils. This unique type of charcoal can stay active in the soil for more than 1,000 years. In contrast to conventional burning, which emits carbon into the atmosphere, the creation of biochar sequesters carbon in a stable structure that becomes an enduring component of your soil composition. The Amish trench technique is remarkably uncomplicated. Excavate a slender trench approximately 2 ft deep. Fill it with garden debris such as small branches and woody plant material. Cover with only enough soil to restrict oxygen supply. Ignite it from one end, allowing it to smolder gradually. The goal is charring, not complete burning. The material should blacken while retaining its form, not reduce to ash. After cooling, pulverize the biochar into small fragments and charge it by steeping in compost tea or manure-infused water for several days before incorporating it into the soil. This action prevents the biochar from temporarily drawing nutrients away from plants. The outcomes are extraordinary: improved water retention, heightened microbial activity, and significantly enhanced nutrient accessibility. Gardens amended with biochar frequently require half the usual amount of water and 1/3 less fertilizer compared to conventional plots. Cold frames from windows. While your biochar trench is undergoing its transformation, there's an alternative project that assists in getting an early start on the growing season, regardless of weather conditions: constructing cold frames using old windows. The Amish have mastered the practice of repurposing discarded windows into effective cold frames, substantially extending the growing period at both its beginning and end. They meticulously recover abandoned windows from remodeling projects or barn clearouts, favoring those with wooden frames that are easily adaptable. Surprisingly, single-pane windows perform better than contemporary energy-saving versions, as they permit greater sunlight penetration while still retaining heat. Windows exhibiting minor cracks or imperfections become valued garden resources rather than contributions to landfills. Orienting these frames at the precise angle significantly impacts their efficiency. Amish cultivators typically position their cold frames facing south or southeast, tilting them at an approximate angle of 35 degrees. In northern regions, this specific angle optimizes exposure to winter sunlight when the sun traverses lower in the sky. During springtime, this angle guarantees that early morning sunlight rapidly warms the soil within. One Amish farmer humorously remarked that his cold frames were so effective, he once discovered his lettuce sporting sunglasses to cope with the heat in early March. Assembly demands surprisingly few implements, usually just a hammer, saw, and measuring device. The fundamental structure consists of a basic box crafted from untreated pine or cedar planks, with the window serving as the lid. The rear wall is constructed taller than the front, establishing the necessary sloped angle. Numerous Amish gardeners integrate hinges, salvaged from old barn doors, facilitating convenient access for watering and harvesting. A correctly positioned cold frame sustains temperatures up to 20 degrees warmer than the ambient air, permitting cool weather crops to grow even amidst ground frost. This substantial temperature differential enables Amish families to gather fresh greens months ahead of and following the standard growing season. Companion planting map. For generations, Amish cultivators have depended on calculated plant alliances rather than chemical interventions. Their companion planting diagrams might appear rudimentary on paper, yet they embody centuries of careful observation and wisdom transmitted through families. Conventional pairings involve planting onions adjacent to carrots to disorient pests that could harm either crop. Across Amish regions, you'll observe tomatoes situated beside basil, a practice that enhances flavor while discouraging detrimental insects. An elderly Amish farmer once revealed that planting marigolds where beetles plagued your beans the previous year proves more potent than any commercially available treatment. Their mapping approach frequently employs basic color indicators. Blue signifies water-loving plants, yellow denotes those requiring full sun, rendering it understandable even for the youngest garden assistants. This deliberate positioning of plants fosters a natural ecosystem that largely maintains itself. Unlike contemporary methods that isolate crops in orderly rows, the Amish technique emulates nature's seemingly disordered yet balanced arrangement. The outcome? Gardens that yield plentifully while preserving natural equilibrium. You might find amusement in their traditional saying, "Plants are like people. Put enemies together and they'll fight, but put friends together and they'll help each other grow." Hand-tilling only. Step onto an Amish farmstead during spring preparations, and you'll perceive an absence, the drone of motorized tillers. Quietude envelops the surroundings as individuals work the soil utilizing long-handled forks and hoes. This practice is not solely rooted in tradition for its own sake. The Amish have long grasped what soil experts have only recently affirmed. Mechanical tilling obliterates vital soil structure. "My grandfather always said a garden should never hear an engine," recollects one Amish grower from Holmes County. The appropriate method entails a gentle lifting and turning action instead of forceful digging, thereby safeguarding delicate fungal networks that industrial farmers frequently eradicate. Research demonstrates that gardens cultivated by hand accommodate up to 400% more earthworms than those tilled mechanically. These beneficial invertebrates fashion nature's ideal soil amendment through their continuous burrowing activities. The Amish technique also averts the development of hardpan, that resistant layer beneath the topsoil impeding root penetration. Certainly it demands more time and exertion, but as one Amish father imparted to his impatient son, "The garden teaches patience. Try to hurry it along and you'll end up with less, not more." Hand-tilling establishes a direct connection between the gardener and the earth, enabling them to perceive subtle changes in soil consistency and identify potential issues before they escalate. Manure tea brewing. In the tranquil corners of Amish properties rests a distinctive brewing setup, sizable wooden casks containing what some might delicately term garden gold. This concoction isn't illicit spirits, but something equally prized by dedicated gardeners: manure tea. A fundamental element of Amish organic cultivation, manure tea converts aged animal excrement into potent liquid nourishment for plants. The procedure commences in early spring when the previous year's well-decomposed manure is gathered into burlap sacks resembling enormous tea bags and immersed in rainwater. Unlike synthetic fertilizers that risk scorching delicate roots, this mild infusion releases nutrients gradually as it infuses. Following approximately 2 weeks, the fluid acquires the hue of strong coffee, indicating its readiness for application. Amish gardeners thin this potent liquid until it achieves the consistency of weak tea, roughly 1 measure of concentrate to 10 measures of water. Early spring leafy greens especially thrive from this natural enrichment, exhibiting darker foliage and more robust stems. An unforeseen advantage: the faint aroma actually deters certain prevalent garden intruders like rabbits and deer. The Amish derive amusement when urban visitors react negatively to this gardening practice. As one farmer humorously noted, "The plants don't mind the smell, and neither do we once we see how they grow." This customary formula has been transmitted through at least 7 generations within some families, with each generation incorporating its own enhancements. Lasagna layering. It takes the Amish to designate a gardening method after a cherished culinary item: lasagna layering. Lasagna layering converts common ground into exceptionally fertile cultivation areas without the backbreaking effort of digging. This technique constructs garden beds progressively in strata, resembling the Italian culinary classic. Commencing directly upon grass or even weedy patches, Amish gardeners lay down water-saturated cardboard or newspaper to form the pasta foundation layer. This effectively suffocates existing plant life while luring earthworms, which initiate the decomposition sequence. Subsequently, a substantial sauce layer composed of nitrogen-abundant materials like fresh lawn clippings, vegetable remnants, or the renowned manure tea is applied. Following this, a cheese layer consisting of carbon-heavy substances emerges: dried foliage, straw, or wood fragments commonly available on Amish farms. These layers alternate until reaching a height of approximately 2 ft, fashioning a bed that essentially composts itself through natural breakdown processes. The remarkable heat produced, occasionally attaining 160 degrees, eliminates weed seeds while establishing optimal growing environments. An Amish grandfather asserts that one can actually perceive the bed functioning if listening intently enough. The gentle rustling sound of countless microorganisms decomposing the materials. What renders this method particularly advantageous in Amish communities is its effectiveness, converting farm byproducts into garden riches while demanding minimal physical exertion. Numerous Amish households have entirely forsaken conventional digging after witnessing the striking outcomes achieved with these no-till gardens. The layers compact significantly over time, generating a growing substrate so nutrient-dense that one can essentially plant directly into it without requiring supplementary fertilizer. 3-layer wind barrier. Protection from wind isn't merely a matter of convenience in an Amish garden, it's crucial for plant survival. Without such protection, delicate seedlings endure relentless whipping, soil moisture diminishes rapidly, and pollinators face challenges in performing their vital functions effectively. This is the reason the Amish devised their clever 3-layer wind barrier system generations past. The principle is elegantly straightforward, yet highly effective. The outermost stratum comprises tall trees or shrubs, frequently fruit-bearing types that fulfill a dual role by yielding food while obstructing severe winds. The intermediate layer consists of medium-height bushes and woody perennials. Currants, gooseberries, and hazelnuts are favored selections that typically grow to about 4 to 6 feet in height. For the innermost layer nearest the garden beds, the Amish cultivate herbs and flowering perennials such as lavender, hyssop, and chundula. Historical documentation from Amish settlements reveals that communities employing these windbreaks sustained notably less crop destruction during intense storms. As one Amish cultivator expressed it, "Gardens are like people. They need to breathe, but they don't want to be blown away." Worm tower installation. Enlisting subterranean partners for your garden might seem like an idea from a speculative narrative, yet the Amish have collaborated with earthworms for centuries. Their worm tower apparatus integrates vermicomposting directly within garden beds instead of confining it to separate containers. This ingenious strategy supplies nutrients exactly where plants require them most. To construct a conventional Amish worm tower, begin with a section of 4 to 6 inch diameter PVC pipe, although historically, hollowed logs served this purpose. Drill numerous 1–2 inch perforations throughout the pipe's length. Bury it upright in your garden bed, leaving approximately 6 inches exposed above the soil surface. Introduce kitchen waste directly into the tube, where it is rapidly broken down by earthworms that enter through the drilled apertures. The elegance of this arrangement resides in its efficiency. Earthworms are capable of processing organic matter equivalent to up to half their body mass each day. An Amish farmer remarked, "We feed the worms feed the soil feeds the plants, and the plants feed us." It's God's perfect circle with a little help from some PVC. Soil blockers. If plastic containers for starting seeds appear to be a contemporary convenience, the Amish custom of soil blocking might initially seem rudimentary. Nevertheless, this method yields seedlings of remarkable vigor while doing away with waste. Rather than initiating seeds within containers, Amish gardeners compact a specially formulated soil mixture into blocks that maintain their structure while permitting plants to establish superior root networks. The customary Amish seed starting substrate blends aged compost, garden soil, sand, and a cohesive agent like clay. Utilizing basic wooden molds, this blend is compressed into cubes varying from 3–4 inch to 2 inches square, featuring a small indentation atop for the seed. As roots extend, they reach the block's edge and then, detecting air, effectively air prune themselves instead of coiling as they would within a container. This practice likely stemmed from necessity when plastic was unavailable, but persists because it genuinely yields better outcomes. "We don't need fancy things from the store," stated one elderly Amish gardener. "The plants don't know if they're in plastic or dirt blocks, but their roots sure seem happier without walls." Rain collection barrels. The Amish philosophy regarding water stewardship revolves around proficient rainwater harvesting. Their conventional rain barrel arrangements optimize the capture of roof runoff through deliberate placement near downspouts for maximum collection. Amish cultivators situate barrels on modestly raised stands, generating pressure for gravity-powered irrigation. What distinguishes their setups is the natural filtration technique employed. Numerous Amish families layer sand, charcoal, and small pebbles at barrel inlets, efficiently screening out debris while permitting water to pass unimpeded. This elementary filtering method necessitates no electricity or modern gadgetry. Establishing gravity-fed distribution systems constitutes another defining feature of Amish water stewardship. By linking multiple barrels using simple hoses or pipes, they create a water conveyance system that operates without requiring pumps. The minor elevation disparity between the barrels and garden beds guarantees that water flows naturally to needy plants. An old Amish proverb encapsulates their respect for rainwater: "Heaven's water grows better gardens than well water." One Amish gardener elaborated, "This isn't just folklore. Rainwater lacks the minerals sometimes found in well water that can affect sensitive plants. As he put it, God waters his garden with rain, not wells." Who am I to argue with his methods? Swale digging. Recognizing natural water movement patterns across one's land is integral to the Amish strategy for water management. Through observing where water naturally pools during rain events, Amish gardeners strategically position swales, shallow depressions that trace land contours to enhance water absorption. Uncomplicated tools like A-frame levels constructed from wood assist in marking accurate contour lines across sloped terrain. Following the marking process, Amish gardeners excavate shallow channels roughly 6 to 8 inches deep and 1 to 2 feet wide. The excavated soil forms a raised bank on the downward slope, effectively fashioning a water-trapping system. What truly sets apart the Amish technique is their method for filling the swales. Instead of leaving, the efficacy of this arrangement is striking. Properly engineered swales can diminish irrigation requirements by as much as 70%, based on observations within Amish communities situated in drier climates. One Amish farmer humorously remarked, "Some people pray for rain. We prepare for it instead." though we still pray too, just to cover our bases. Cloth cover sowing. Transforming feed sacks into protective coverings for the garden exemplifies the Amish dedication to ingenuity and making use of available resources. These robust cloth coverings fulfill several functions, safeguarding delicate seedlings against frost, discouraging pests, and establishing microenvironments conducive to early planting. The customary sewing technique employs simple straight seams, reinforced at points of tension. Many Amish women utilize a particular cross-stitch design at the corners, which significantly enhances the cover's resilience. Covers usually feature durable ties or loops affixed along the edges for anchoring them to the ground or supporting frames. Correct installation methods avert wind damage, a vital factor in the exposed Amish farmlands. Instead of merely placing covers directly upon plants, Amish gardeners fashion low arches from pliable branches, enabling the covers to hang over the plants without making contact. This configuration maximizes heat retention while still allowing rainwater to seep through. Particularly noteworthy is how these covers are crafted to strike a balance between protection and air circulation. Amish gardeners have learned through generations of experience that plants require shielding but also ventilation. Nature must be allowed to breathe. An Amish gardener elucidated, "A plant under cloth is like a horse in a barn. It needs fresh air or it gets sick." Sunken paths. The characteristic Amish garden configuration, displaying sunken walkways between elevated beds, arose from practical needs rather than visual preference. By establishing paths 6 to 8 inches below the level of the beds, Amish cultivators effectively augment the growing depth without necessitating extensive excavation. The materials employed for filling the paths develop and improve through years of application. Initially, paths might be filled using wood chips or straw. Over time, as these substances decompose, they are augmented with fresh organic matter, progressively enhancing soil fertility throughout the entire garden. This layout optimizes cultivation area, a crucial factor for large Amish families managing restricted land parcels. By focusing the growing zone within raised beds and utilizing paths solely for movement, gardens yield considerably more food per square foot compared to standard row cultivation. The functional advantages during periods of heavy rainfall render this method especially beneficial. Sunken pathways serve as temporary reservoirs for water collection, curbing erosion while permitting surplus moisture to gradually permeate the adjacent soil. An Amish farmer dealing with particularly dense clay soil observed, "Before we dug these paths, my tomatoes would drown in a heavy rain. Now they just watch the water go by while keeping their feet dry." Cold-hardy direct seeding. Traditional Amish cultivators excel in the technique of sowing seeds directly into cool springtime soil. Their meticulously chosen cold-tolerant varieties, encompassing specific cultivars of peas, spinach, and radishes, have been conserved across generations precisely for their capacity to sprout in soil temperatures reaching as low as 40 °C. Appropriate planting depth and spacing methods contrast significantly with those for warm season crops. Amish gardeners generally sow cold, hardy seeds somewhat deeper than advised for warmer soil, affording extra insulation against temperature swings. Seeds are positioned more closely together than summer plantings, enabling the small seedlings to establish protective microenvironments for each other. Fashioning supplementary microclimate shielding involves basic materials readily available around the farm. Numerous Amish gardeners position flat stones adjacent to recently sown seeds. These stones absorb thermal energy during daylight and release warmth throughout the night, effectively elevating the soil temperature in the immediate area by several degrees. Plant peas when frogs begin to sing. This customary Amish timing cue reflects generations of meticulous observation. One Amish elder clarified that spring peepers usually commence their mating calls when soil temperatures attain the ideal range for pea germination. As he pointed out, nature's calendar is more reliable than any date on paper. The frogs haven't been wrong about pea planting time in all my 70 years. Potato trenching. The Amish deep trench technique for planting potatoes significantly boosts yields while reducing the required area. In contrast to the standard method of digging separate holes, Amish gardeners dig trenches 10 to 12 inches deep and approximately 18 inches wide. Seed potatoes are arranged along the base of these trenches, set about 12 inches from each other. Initially, the potatoes are covered with only a few inches of soil. As the plants develop and their stems grow to about 6 inches in height, additional soil is banked around the stems, leaving only the top few inches uncovered. This procedure is repeated until the trench transforms into a mound. This incremental filling method stimulates potato formation along the buried portions of the stems, effectively generating multiple strata of tubers instead of merely a single cluster beneath the ground. The technique markedly enhances the production potential of every plant. Data gathered from Amish community gardens indicate this approach can elevate potato yields by as much as 40% relative to conventional planting. One down-to-earth Amish cultivator from Ohio remarked that his family's potato trenches not only yielded more sustenance, but also made harvesting easier, eliminating the need to bend over and search haphazardly for dispersed potatoes. Human-powered irrigation. Hand pump mechanisms form the core of Amish irrigation practices. These manually driven pumps are linked to basic pipe systems strategically laid out across garden plots. The lack of electricity demands careful planning that optimizes water distribution while reducing human exertion. The accuracy of these systems is notable. Instead of inundating entire garden sections, Amish irrigation conveys water straight to plant roots via small-bore pipes, featuring carefully positioned outlets. This focused delivery significantly cuts down on water wastage compared to typical sprinkler setups. A variety of water-conserving strategies further lessen the labor involved. Many Amish gardens utilize elementary timers, not electronic but straightforward mechanical ones, that automatically halt water flow after a predetermined time. Others employ inverted bottles as gradual drip feeders for recently planted seedlings. One especially creative method originates from an Amish community garden irrigated entirely by a children's play pump. The community set up an adapted seesaw that drives a simple water pump. While children engage in play, they inadvertently water the whole community garden. The children think they're playing, clarified an Amish mother, but they're actually doing chores without knowing it. Branch trellising. Employing pruned branches from orchards for plant support showcases the Amish dedication to resourcefulness. Following the seasonal pruning of fruit trees, branches that might otherwise be used as firewood are repurposed into robust garden trellises, providing support for climbing plants all through the growing period. Assembly methods demand very few tools, usually just pruning implements, twine crafted from natural materials, and sometimes a knife for carving connection notches. Thicker branches serve as vertical posts, while thinner, pliable branches establish horizontal links, creating a strong grid structure perfectly suited for supporting pea vines, beans, and cucumbers. Various configurations are designed to suit different climbing plants according to their growth patterns. For pole beans, tall conical structures with branches converging at a central apex permit vines to ascend naturally. For cucumbers and squash, more level structures offer superior support for weighty produce. Traditional wisdom passed down through generations indicates which types of tree branches endure longest as garden supports. Cherry and apple branches tend to decay rapidly and are not optimal choices. Oak and locust branches, conversely, resist deterioration and can potentially last for several seasons. An experienced Amish cultivator from Pennsylvania observed, "Grandfather always said a good locust branch trellis will outlast the gardener who built it. Though I'm still here, and my trellis is going on 15 years. Her border establishment. Establishing perimeter plantings that inherently discourage garden pests is central to the Amish organic gardening philosophy. The calculated positioning of aromatic herbs along garden boundaries acts as a living fence that wards off destructive insects while simultaneously drawing in beneficial pollinators. The Amish choice of protective herbs encompasses specific varieties confirmed to be effective against prevalent garden nuisances. Potently scented herbs, like wormwood and tansy, successfully repel cabbage worms, whereas the pungent aroma of marigolds deters nematodes residing underground. Most Amish herb borders comprise a meticulous blend of herbs possessing complementary protective attributes. Sustaining their effectiveness necessitates a particular harvesting protocol rather than simply trimming herbs as needed for culinary purposes. Amish gardeners practice selective pruning of border herbs to enhance oil production, thereby amplifying their protective capabilities. Typically, these herbs are cut back by 1/3 subsequent to flowering to promote fresh, fragrant growth. One Amish gardener recounted her striking results with this strategy, mentioning a substantial decrease in cabbage worms after implementing a thorough herb border for 3 years. "My cabbages looked like lace doilies from all the worm damage," she detailed. "Then, my grandmother taught me to plant wormwood and tansy nearby. Now my cabbages look like they've never even met a cabbage butterfly." Bean arch construction. Bean arches constitute one of the most visually arresting features of traditional Amish gardens. These practical structures concurrently yield food while forming shaded garden walkways that offer respite during sweltering summer conditions. Amish cultivators generally erect these arches using materials easily sourced on their farms. Uncomplicated binding methods employing natural substances secure the arch's structure. Conventional construction involves pliable young trees or branches shaped into an arch, then fastened with jute cord or fabric strips from discarded garments. Notches carved at joining points aid in preventing slippage while the vines become established. Load-bearing capacity is vital for substantial crops such as pole beans. Adequately built arches must bear the weight not only of the vines, but potentially 50 lebs or more of beans throughout the cultivation period. Regular cross-bracing significantly enhances structural soundness without necessitating metal hardware. The yield from these structures is impressive. A single Amish community bean arch, measuring just 15 feet across, produced over 50 lobes of beans within 1 season. An experienced Amish gardener pointed out that these arches serve not only practical purposes, but also provide amusement. "Children love running through the bean tunnels," he mentioned, though we tell them to watch out for bees and low-hanging beans that might bonk them on the head. Hardening off schedule. The Amish method for adapting seedlings from sheltered settings to outdoor elements adheres to a precisely timed regimen. This essential procedure averts transplant shock while systematically enhancing plant toughness through managed exposure to external conditions. Regular temperature checks inform the progressive acclimatization steps. Utilizing basic thermometers, Amish gardeners monitor both daytime maximums and nighttime minimums, modifying exposure durations as needed. Seedlings usually commence with merely 1 hour of outdoor exposure when temperatures hit 50 degrees, with the duration extended by roughly 30 minutes each day. Crafting simple nighttime covers safeguards delicate plants during this adjustment phase. Numerous Amish gardeners utilize inverted bushel baskets or wooden crates draped with cloth to shield plants from unforeseen temperature declines. These makeshift shelters offer just sufficient protection without entirely isolating the plants from their natural surroundings. One Amish gardener related his own cautionary tale about omitting this crucial stage. 20 years ago, I was impatient and put my tomato seedlings straight into the garden. That night, temperatures dropped to 40 degrees Celsius. They survived, but those plants sulked for weeks and produced half what the properly hardened plants did. Sometimes the fastest way to a good harvest is the slow way. Pine needle mulching. Pine needle mulch constitutes a frequently disregarded asset that Amish gardeners have employed for generations. Although many cultivators shy away from pine needles due to worries about soil acidity, Amish growers recognize their beneficial qualities for particular garden uses. The depth of application differs markedly based on plant varieties. For acid-loving species like blueberries, strawberries, and potatoes, Amish gardeners spread pine needles in layers 3 to 4 inches thick. For plants preferring more neutral conditions, a shallower layer of merely 1 to 2 inches offers weed control advantages without substantially changing the soil's pH level. Specific crops exhibit notable enhancement when treated with acidic mulch. Potatoes show reduced scab formation, blueberries yield sweeter berries, and strawberries encounter fewer fungal problems when mulched using pine needles. One especially unforeseen advantage: pine needle mulch effectively discourages slugs as they are averse to traversing the sharp, arid needles. The durability of pine needle mulch presents another considerable benefit. Pine needle mulch can persist 2 to 3 times longer than straw mulch, necessitating less frequent replenishment. An Amish gardener possessing substantial woodland on his land jested, "My neighbors spend hours collecting straw mulch twice a year. I gather pine needles once, and then take a nice nap while their mulch is rotting away." Clay pot irrigation. The Amish have adopted an age-old irrigation practice tracing back millennia. Unglazed earthenware pots, referred to as ollas, are sunk up to their necks in garden soil and replenished with water. The porous quality of these containers permits water to gradually permeate into the adjacent soil, supplying moisture directly to the roots of plants. This approach originated in North Africa, but was integrated into Amish communities via European farming customs in the early 19th century. Obtaining suitable clay pots is essential. Amish gardeners frequently craft their own or engage in trade with community ceramicists who grasp the specific prerequisites. The clay must be left unglazed and fired at temperatures that preserve porosity, yet maintain structural integrity. One Amish farmer quipped that his clay pots were so effective at watering his tomatoes that the plant began leaving appreciative notes beside the empty vessels. Prior to deployment, new pots necessitate a 24-hour soaking period to thoroughly saturate the clay and guarantee correct operation once buried. Calculated positioning is paramount. Amish gardeners situate these pots among 4 to 6 plants, burying them so that only the apertures are exposed above the soil surface. Covers fashioned from clay saucers curtail evaporation and prevent debris and insects from entering. This water-conserving technique holds particular importance in Amish communities where obtaining water often involves manual pumping, making every single drop vital to the garden's prosperity. Succession planting calendar. Amish cultivators are adept at optimizing yields through careful succession planting. Instead of sowing everything simultaneously, they phase crop plantings throughout the growing season to guarantee ongoing production. This method commences with thorough planning during late winter, charting out available area, and devising a schedule that considers the growth duration of each plant. This continuous harvest plan ensures fresh produce graces Amish tables from early spring right through to late autumn. Efficient use of space underpins this system. As soon as one crop concludes its cycle, another promptly occupies its location. Early radishes might give way to summer beans, followed by fall spinach, all within the identical plot. Amish gardeners practice intercropping, planting rapidly growing items like lettuce between vegetables that mature more slowly, such as cabbage. The garden remains continuously active throughout the cultivation period. Uncomplicated yet efficient labeling methods aid in keeping track of planting times. Many Amish gardeners employ wooden markers with planting details inscribed or etched directly onto them. Others keep meticulous garden logs complete with hand-illustrated layouts. Skillfully executed succession planting can boost garden output by a remarkable 200% in comparison to single-season cultivation. As one Amish gardener noted after detailing his intricate succession strategy to an inquirer, planting a garden is like planting a family. If you don't space them properly, you'll never keep up with the feeding. These cooperative work efforts cultivate not only more robust gardens, but also stronger interpersonal bonds, guaranteeing the perpetuation of traditional methods through collective practice. And that encompasses the powerful Amish spring gardening tasks essential for transforming any backyard into a flourishing, fruitful garden. These proven techniques might be traditional, yet they often surpass most contemporary strategies in effectiveness. Experiment with even a handful of them, and you'll observe the results by summertime. Do you desire your garden to flourish the Amish way? Then don't delay. Commence today and allow nature to handle the remainder.